Welcome, YouTube friends and family, to today's Pantry edition of the Wellness Homesteader. Now, y'all, I know my pantry's a little bit messy, but I know where everything is, and that's what counts, right? So this is actually my first floor master. I have a 4-bedroom house, and so this, for now, has turned into a pantry, somewhat by accident. Started out with these 2 shelves. But I want to talk to you today about something I think is very important, given what's been going on with climate change and drought. And I want to talk to you about prepping, but in the spirit of preparedness, not panic. I hope you'll stay tuned. So in preparation for this video, honestly, y'all, I've done my research and ripped out pages and done some more research and ripped out pages because I realized I was getting caught up in, oh my word, oh my goodness, I eat that, what am I going to do? And let me just make sort of a global statement that I think is fair, and then I'm going to share some specifics that if it's products you use, you might want to stock up on. So I watched several videos and looked at several articles kind of around the 20 things, and we're not going to go through 20 things you should stock up on now. And here's what I hear: climate change, drought, monsoons, increased cost of fuel, lack of staff, increased cost of packaging and transportation. That's kind of across the board. So what can I say? I can say that there is a definite trend through the end of 2023 based on these projections, and they are projections. It hasn't come to pass yet, but we know historically when we've had really weird weather, and y'all, I have to tell you, this year has been the weirdest but most productive garden year I've ever had. And it's because we have had pretty normal heat. Like, it got hot early and our frost-free date was early, but we have had a straight up drought. So I have had to water. I've had to constantly drain my rain barrel, which only holds 50 gallons, and that's nothing when you have a very large garden. But I've had great yields, but early yields. So before we get into talking about gardening or preserving what you grow, I want to talk to you about 12 items that I think we all use in one way or another, or most of us use. I don't eat all of them, but these might be things that if you're running low on and you don't have a spare on the shelf, or you know about how much you and family will use through the winter, and you want to head off some of this inflation, it might be a good time to buy. So number 1 is coconut oil. I use coconut oil in my soaping, and so that's a little discouraging, but they've had a combination of typhoons and droughts in the Philippines and Indonesia that has dramatically impacted the production, in other words, the ripening and ability to harvest the coconut. So they're projecting about a 9% increase. So I would go ahead, if you're a coconut oil user, pick you up some coconut oil. Number 2, avocado. Love me some avocados. And I also like avocado oil. So both are going to be affected. So we already know what's going on in California and also in Mexico, and those are our 2 primary avocado producers. So with that irregular weather, they're saying a 12% increase. And y'all, I can tell you that just shopping at Aldi, like, yeah, I'm not paying $1.09 for an avocado, no matter how badly I want one. So while you can't really preserve an avocado, and guys, don't buy the avocado with a peel on it that lasts 30 days longer. I've got a whole video on, I have a whole video on that. Don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. It's artificial, and it can even be on organic avocados. But if you're an avocado oil user, which I am, you might want to stock up now. 12% increase if I didn't say that. Wheat. Now, we have heard about wheat shortages clear back to pandemic time. And that was largely due to a combination of weather, but lack of personnel. But the climate change has really decreased our yields. You all know about the California wildfires. You all know what's going on in the U.S., but also the Russia situation. That's all I'm going to say. So they're projecting about an 8% increase. Are you noticing a pattern yet? All right, number 4. I might have to cry about this one. Coffee. So Brazil and Vietnam have both had a pretty significant drought, plus they had a late frost, so their yields are down. Coffee prices are projected to increase, ding, 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 you guessed it, 9%. Now, I threw this one in here for all you chocolate lovers. I am not a chocolate lover, but the climate change in cocoa-producing countries, as well as political unrest in West Africa, is going to raise the cost of chocolate about 10%. Now, when my mom was living, my mother ate 5 pounds of Hershey Minis a week. And I'm sure, you know, staff ate some, and I know her little friends did too, but my mom made a ton of chocolate. If my mom was upset, you just open a Hershey bar and hand it to her, and she was all right with the world. But they're saying a 10% increase. What I've noticed is towards end of life for my mom, I was shocked at how expensive 5 pounds of chocolate was. So if you need to get your chocolate on, you might want to do it now. Number 6, olive oil. So primarily, I use coconut, olive, and avocado. Wow, you know, all 3 of them are being hit. Extreme heat waves, and who knew about this? The olive fly pest in Spain and Greece have decreased the yield, so that's projected to increase about 11%. Now, the thing about oil is it will go rancid over time, so I don't recommend you stock up a ton. You might be able to use some animal fat instead of using your vegetable-based, I guess they're, yeah, olives of it. Is olive a vegetable? I think it is. But anyway, don't overstock. But I would say make sure you have some on hand, and you may want to buy a smaller container if the price is unaffordable. Almonds, walnuts, and cashews. Did they spy on my dietary likes? The drought, especially in California, being our almond producer in the U.S., has really decreased the yields. If you've priced nuts, they're outrageous. And think about your upcoming holiday baking. Y'all, you can freeze nuts. You can vacuum seal them in a jar, keep them in a dry, cool place. 12% increase, just in time for holiday baking. Number 8, cheese. Now, y'all know I love me some cheese. I eat a lot of cheese. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Kym. I small homestead and have chickens, and I like to garden, and I like to do a little prepping. But anyway, I love me some cheese because I'm not really a meat eater. So nuts, good. Cheese, good. And dairy, which we're going to talk more about, good. So I get a lot of plant-based protein. So because of the increase in milk prices, and y'all, I don't normally drink cow's milk. I will use it in baking and such, but normally I'm an almond milk drinker. But milk is pricey. And it's due to higher feed costs for dairy cows. So it's projected to increase another 10% by the end of 2023. Beef. Y'all, I wanted to make a meatloaf, and I'm like, I'm not making a $4,000 meatloaf. I was shocked at the price of beef because I don't buy it very much. But this again goes back to the price of feed And the projected increase is another 9%, just what we needed, right? On to number 10. Almost finished with our list. Then I'm going to give you some solutions, so don't despair. Yogurt. Love me some yogurt. And due to the increase in dairy prices of about 9%, increase in yogurt as well. And all of these, they said, you know, due to the rising cost of transportation, increased gas prices, increased heating and cooling costs for the manufacturing plants. I mean, we're all in the same boat, you know, so let's get our oars out and row to shore. Bread, of course, I've already spoken about the increase in wheat prices. So they're saying another 7% increase in bread. Now, I generally, not always, make my own bread because it's so much better and so much cheaper. But y'all, occasionally when I need like an emergency loaf of bread, oh my word, some of those are like $5, $6 a loaf. I think not. I think not. All right, and number 12, rice. So while we're in a drought, China and India have had a lot of flooding. So rice is projected to increase 7%. So do you feel panicked? I certainly hope not, because here's what I'm going to say. While maybe we can't control price increases, and for those of us on Social Security, we can't raise our check commensurate with the amount of increase. If you added these all together, we're going to be at like 9 or 10% inflation again on staples for many people in the US anyway. So what can you do about this issue? Well, number one, guys, stock your shelves as you can afford. So don't panic buy, and whatever you do, only buy what you know your family will eat. You might want to focus in more heavily on these 12 things I've mentioned, but not all are long-term shelf stable like some of the oils. Coconut oil is much more shelf stable. Rice is great, but you know, how much yogurt can you really stock, right? But I have some suggestions. I think one of the best things that you can do to really decrease your cost at the grocery is learn how to cook from scratch. Y'all, cookbooks, there are thousands and thousands on Amazon. Go to the library, check some out for free, write them recipes down, cost you nothing. I have a plethora of cookbooks, and I've been cooking since my teen years, so cooking from scratch isn't difficult for me. But what I will say is there are certain things I didn't know how to do well. I didn't know how to bake homemade bread at one point in time. I had not a clue how to make yogurt until I bought an Instant Pot. So that's another option. And I didn't know that you could buy whole grains to grind for your bread. And we're going to do a little bit of a pantry tour. I'm going to highlight a few things. This isn't about like, look at everything I have. That's not what it's about. This is about encouraging you and giving you some suggestions of ways that you can offset a little bit of the inflation and still feed yourself and your family well and healthy foods. So number 3 suggestion would be consider grinding your own grains. Now, I know grain mills are expensive. Totally know that. I might have just ordered a new one. I might have just ordered a Nutrimill. And guys, they're like $350. But you might be saying, well, how many years is that going to take you to break even? Well, if I make a loaf of bread every week and I save myself, we'll just do the math, $5, that's $250 in a year I've saved. But this is something that I wanted. So I'm not going to justify its cost, but it should last me many years to come. I do have a grain mill already. I intend to keep it because it grinds grains that the Nutrimill will not. So it will grind things like kidney beans, garbanzo beans. I can make any kind of flour that I would want to. If I'm going to make einkorn, a type of einkorn, I got corrected that because I didn't ferment my grains, I wasn't really making einkorn, but there's a million approaches to einkorn, let me just say that. but it will save you money. And if you all remember back in the pandemic days, could you buy a bag of bread flour? Why, no, you could not. And I bet you many of those people are selling their bread machines on Facebook Marketplace now because they thought they wanted to bake bread, but then they realized it's harder maybe than they thought. I'm not really sure. Okay, number 4. If you have access, whether in your own garden or at a economical farmer's market, to fresh produce, preserve. Do it safely. You can go right online. You don't have to have a special cookbook, and find out safe ways to can things like tomatoes and jams and jellies and fruits. Those are water bath items. And then on the other hand, things that are low acid like green beans and carrots and beans, you can pressure can. And y'all, again, I say, go to Facebook Marketplace. Take a look and see if someone is selling a canner. Water bath canners are quite inexpensive. Pressure canners can get a little bit more pricey. It is so worth your while. Also, y'all, I will share with you that my Walmart, and I'll just say my Walmart in Ohio, is having a sale on jars. So I might have stocked up on a few more jars. You'll see them on the floor back here. But they had wide mouth pints. They had jam and jelly, which I happen to need, and the half gallons, all $2 off a case. So I stocked up because I will use them. Now, when I get to spring, I'm going to be much more jar rich because I will be using those up. But right now, I really needed the additional jars for some projects that I've been doing and I've been sharing with you all. The final thought is, guys, be sure you stock what you eat. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I stocked, maybe out of a little bit of fear, that I don't eat well, okay? I eat it, but I don't eat it well, so I probably have enough for the rest of my natural lifetime. So just make sure, if you're like, I don't even know where to begin, get your receipts out, from when you've grocery shopped. Take a look at what you've been buying. Think about if you meal plan, which I'm not very good at, but how many times in the last month have you eaten ground beef or chicken or a vegetarian meal, or how many side vegetables do you cook a day for your family, and what does that look like in terms of jars or cans? That's a good way to do it. Is it a perfect science? Well, no, because I'm maybe a little overstocked. But as my garden is coming in, what I'm realizing is next year is going to be a very different year for me in terms of preservation, because I like to eat through what I preserve in 2 years. So I'm not going to have as much work to do. I may not even need to can at all. We'll see. I probably will need to can some cowboy candy because I like my spicy food. And I may need more tomatoes. It depends on what my yield is this year. So let me change positions. I'm going to give you some categories that you might start thinking about. Okay, would I use this? Does this make sense for my family? What form do I want it in? And I'll share that with you in just a minute. Also, guys, you can dehydrate. You can use your oven to dehydrate at very low temperatures. If you have a freeze dryer, which I do, you can freeze dry. You can freeze. There are so many different ways to preserve food. And I would say, if you follow Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead, she does the Every Bit Count Challenge, and she's doing that right now. Lots of great ideas over there, so you might want to go visit her channel. So let me just show you some of the things in my pantry and why I stock what I stock, and it might give you some ideas for being best prepared for winter 2023 and 10% more inflation. Stay tuned. So I'm going to start here on a little prep table that I have and share with you that I am harvesting pumpkins very early. This is a pie. These are jack-o'-lanterns, but I'm keeping them in a dark, cool pantry Very seldom do I have the light on unless I'm getting something. So don't forget about long-term, like onions, root vegetables that you can store for winter. I will have, pardon me guys, I'm fighting the hiccups. Long-term storage will fill this all up with butternut squash as well. I also have my garlic from this year, preserved. Lots and lots of extra jars. And lots of extra jars over here, plus some more quarts in the garage. You know, I think one of the easiest ways is just to kind of go through and show you some of my labeling. So I have a lot of appliances too, but just funky baking supplies like sprinkles or cream of tartar, things I don't use very much, I will store in here. This is some potato starch. This is some cocoa powder. And y'all, my nails are not dirty, it's tomato stain. Then some overflow grains. This is primarily rye, ground rye. And then I also stock nuts and dried fruits. And I have some freeze-dried, I have some dehydrated, some different things that I will use for holiday baking. This shelf, I have pre-ground flour. So I do keep some cornmeal, I keep some sprouted wheat flour, bread flour, AP flour, and what you'll notice, and some oats back there, and some overflow oats here, and semolina. I have these in the food grade Gamma Silk buckets, so this will stay good for many, many years. I don't have to worry about spoilage. Here, I keep some milk and milk products. I don't know why the flaxseed meal is there, but it is. So I have things like buttermilk powder and canned coconut milk in the back and non-fat dry milk. Here I have honey, maple syrup, alternate sweeteners, and then my salt. Goodness, I can't even read. Vinegars, lemon juice, things like that. And this is primarily used for canning. And yep, I might have all the salt that I will ever need for my lifetime. Down at the bottom, I have my organic whole grains. So I have my soft white, my hard red. This is organic yellow corn, which I can grind for cornmeal. I do have some prepackaged brown sugar, lots and lots of sealed up white sugar. I do buy my sugar in 25-pound bags. And so I should be like golden on bread and even pre-ground flours and meals. Again, guys, I hope you won't judge. So this is my 21 gallons of water to use in case of an emergency. I do have a 50-gallon rain barrel, but this is potable or drinkable water. Here I have some extra batteries, like a couple bottled waters, some fire starters, things like that that you might need in the event of a power outage, even though I have a generator. On this shelf, I have all the beans, and guys, it goes all the way back. Excuse the vacuum cleaners in the background. But Great Northern Pinto. And in a pinch, guys, you can plant these. So I think that's pretty exciting as well. This is millet. Don't knock it till you try it. It's good in granola bars. It's also can be ground and used sort of as a flour in an acorn type bread. And here's something that I have that I've been remiss in using, and that is jasmine rice. I am not a huge rice fan, but I have it, and I could use rice and beans if I had to. And then over here are prepackaged dried soups along with some of my freeze-dried products over here as well. And then this is just like extra paper supplies, sealing things, all the appliances, guys. I have a lot. The shelves along the back are my freeze-dried products. So I have lots and lots of half gallons of eggs when my girls stop laying. I have freeze-dried zucchini, onions, cucumbers, tomatoes, some powdered greens, lots of hot peppers, more onions, some fruits, and the overflow of beans as well. So these are really handy to have. Simply rehydrate. They're vacuum sealed. They're all labeled, and some rhubarb there too. So lots of good winter eating from my freeze-dried product. Now, lest you think that I don't eat store-canned items, I do. So I have a selection for convenience sake, I guess you would say, of, you know, some garbanzo beans or chickpeas, black beans, things that would take a while to cook. I even have potatoes, I have some corn, I have some green beans. Up here are fruits and like pumpkin, like things you would use for pies, and then some bone broths as well. Don't forget, guys, and I don't want to show you too much, but don't forget about supplying your health and beauty needs and your cleaning needs. Guys, I have lots of cleaning products up top. Here is where I've been freeze drying all sorts of peppers and herbs for winter use. I do have a few convenience items like rice-a-roni, some shells and cheese, some naked PB, some protein drinks. And then down here is sort of just a plethora. Some oils, tea, coffee creamer, you know, the essentials. And I do keep a stash, the blue bags, of extra coffee beans, and as well as olive oil. I use that heavily in my soap making. And of course, gotta have my sweet and low, girls. Can't be too much Kym. Now, you will see on a lot of these shelves, I have some home canned items you can't really see back here, because my double pantry out in the great room is actually full. So I have things like Sloppy Joe, home canned green beans from this year, some applesauce, not sure what is all down here. Oh, more Sloppy Joe. So some canned meats as well. A little overflow of laundry products. So I would be good, guys, for a very, very long time. Now, y'all, that's not meant to panic you or discourage you in any way, shape, or form. I get asked a lot, like, what do you prep? What do you have? And they say don't show your pantry, but I'm doing it with the spirit of helping, and the Lord will protect me. I'm also armed. I always feel like I have to say that. Anyway, there are so many good resources out on the internet and on YouTube. How to get started on a prepping pantry. I'm not the expert because I did a lot of things wrong, but what I can tell you is I started with my own garden, and then I started with kind of stocking like sugar, honey, maple syrup sweeteners. Got a sweet tooth. And then grains. And then I've kind of branched out from there to beans, some store-canned goods, and, you know, paper items. I might have a hidden toilet paper stash. Yes, I might. But think about what you buy in a typical month. And then, guys, just pick up one or two extra things if your budget's tight. I know what it's like to have a tight budget, y'all. I do. This did not happen overnight. No, this happened over a 4-year period. So prepare as you can for winter, and I hope these suggestions have been helpful for you. If you have any other suggestions, because y'all are pretty smart, drop a comment below so I can pin that, or others can read it. It might be a great encouragement to them, because I think we're all feeling like this crazy weather and these crazy prices. Have y'all filled up lately or paid your electric bill? Just saying. You know, I think it's affecting us all. And for those on a fixed income, such as myself, our incomes are not going up with all of these price increases. So I think preparing, cooking from scratch, trying to not waste food, trying to make every bit count, really does make a difference at the end of the month in your finances. I hope you found this helpful. If you would do me a favor, smash that like button. Don't forget to leave your suggestions below. I will see you all next week with something fun. Not sure what that will be, but in the meantime, be healthy, be well, be blessed, take care.